Hi guys, my name is Alacia and welcome to the Sea Life 6. If you're new here, please remember to hit that subscribe and notification button so you can get notified every time a new video comes out. Today I'm going to be going over some tips that I have if you're looking to start homeschooling. If you see my videos before, I kind of had to get started homeschooling by just jumping right into the water with no life jacket and just trying to figure it out while I'm doing it. I have an older child who has autism, and unfortunately school was just not working out for us at that point. And there was a day that I literally my husband and I walked into school and we said, you know what, enough is enough, we're done, and we pulled him out of school right then and there. It was a hard decision, but it was something that wound up turning out to be the best decision for our family. So let's get started on these tips that I have for you guys. The first tip that I have is going to be know your state laws. So you really want to make sure you know what you're talking about when you're doing homeschool stuff so you don't wind up getting into any kind of legal issues. A great resource for this, other than Googling, is to get on Facebook and just Google your state's homeschool group. Most states have one. For Connecticut, it's the Connecticut Homeschool Network, and there is a Facebook group there, and it has so many people across the state that are in there. There's also a homeschooling lawyer that is in our Facebook group, and if you have any questions, a lot of them that have been homeschooling for a while are able to help you out and get you situated with things. You might even want to look up and reach out to a homeschool lawyer if you're not understanding some laws and say, hey, I'm not really understanding this, so I just want to make sure I know what I'm doing before I get started. So that's my number one tip. Make sure you know the laws for your state. Number two, another big thing before you get started, really sit down and create a homeschool budget for yourself. My reason for doing that is because homeschooling can be extremely expensive if you let it be. There's so many different curriculums out there. There's so many different ways to homeschool. And when I pulled my son out, I almost got really overwhelmed and felt like, oh my God, what did I just do? Because being in a one-income family, it was just a lot to kind of take in to see how expensive some of these things were. So whether you have a lot of room in your budget or you're on a really tight budget, I really suggest you sit down and go, okay, what are our goals for homeschooling? What are our goals for the year? Do we want to do, co-ops? Do we want to do, after-school sports? Do we want to do curriculums where we get everything included? Do we want to try to just limit how much we're spending on things? Are we doing an online curriculum? Or are we doing a workbook curriculum? You really want to sit down and kind of just look over your budget and say, you know what, this is how much money I have, and this is what I need to do with that budget when it comes to homeschooling. You need to make your homeschool budget work for you and not the other way around, because it's really, really easy to kind of just get out of control with homeschooling stuff. Once you dive deep into this, you're like, oh, I went that, and oh, I went that, and oh, I went that. And it's so easy to get caught up in getting all the stuff situated for homeschooling, and then you're looking like, how much money did I spend? Or you might spend money on something that you really didn't need. So really sit down, talk to your spouse if you have a spouse, or if you're a single parent, just look at your budget and say, you know what, this is how much a paycheck I'm going to put aside, this is how much a month I'm going to put aside. Or I know a lot of people take a chunk out of their yearly taxes, and this is how much I'm going to put aside every single year to do homeschooling stuff with. My third tip to give to you is going to be to go to a homeschool convention before you get started. And this kind of plays back with the budgeting thing. Going to a homeschool convention, one, you're going to get a bunch of really great tips. You're going to learn a lot about homeschooling before you even get started, but you're also going to be able to physically touch and feel homeschool material, to where most of the time you're probably not going to be able to do that. A lot of the times homeschool materials are something that you look online for and you have to purchase online, and they get sent to you, and if you don't like them, a lot of these places, if you look at their return policies, either have a restocking fee or they take a certain percentage off. So before you go spending the money on things, it's really great if you're able to go to a homeschool convention that every single homeschool curriculum out there tries to get to these conventions, because they know that's the best place to get their material out there, so you can look and see and go through it and make your decision right then and there. My number 4 homeschooling tip that I have is unschooling. And what that means basically is taking a step back and getting off the schedule. If your children have ever gone to either a private school or a public school, just taking a step back and getting off that schedule that school had you on. A lot of homeschool veterans will tell you, do not try to go step by step how a public school or private school does things. The biggest reason for this is because Public schools or Christian schools, there's multiple teachers. There is one teacher teaching one class, and those classes rotate to where when you're doing homeschooling, it's normally one main parent that does the teaching, or parents kind of switch off. Maybe you're doing a night and day schedule and your spouse does some things in the morning and you do something in the afternoon. But if you have more than one child you're trying to homeschool, just remember that you are one person teaching multiple children. So trying to have that schedule like an actual brick and mortar school, it's going to drive you crazy. You can try it if you want, but for the most part, it's going to drive you crazy. I tried the same thing. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep him on that schedule of what he was doing in school, and we're going to stick to it. And let me tell you, I was banging my head against the wall, crying. I was like, what's going on? Why isn't this working? And then I realized, okay, what is this unschool thing? Like, what is that? Is that what could that possibly be? That doesn't even make sense. Unschooling is where you just take a step back. And I suggest doing this when you first get your kids out of school. Once you're pulling your kids out of school, whatever point you have, I suggest taking a break. Don't dive right into homeschooling. Take that family vacation you've been wanting. Just take that time to like just be with your kids and chilling out at the house and kind of getting used to being around each other all the time. I don't think you should take a month off. But if your family needs a month, then do what you need. But you do need to get used to being around each other 24/7, how you're going to do breakfast, how you're going to do lunches. Because the other fact is, and this is where another thing with their budget comes into place, is there's things that school has been doing, now you will have to do, which means you'll be having more snacks in your house. There's more eating going on at your house. I know a lot of families went from their kids going to school and they purchased lunch at school to now they're homeschooling and they were like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much my kids ate. Giving yourself the time to have to actually, okay, you know what, we gotta stop and make lunch every single day. We gotta stop and, I mean, most times you wake up, you gotta feed your kids breakfast, but that definite stopping in the middle of the day that a lot of people aren't used to, and making and having a sit down and having to get clean and all that other stuff after meals and everything, you know, prepping the meals, eating the meals, cleaning up after the meals, that's a lot that most people aren't used to doing. And when you're doing homeschool and now you're home all the time, those are things you're gonna have to do. So just to kind of take the frustration out of some stuff, take a step back, get used to being in the house, get used to being around each other again, kind of figure out, okay, well, how are my daily chores going to be? How am I going to get certain things done and homeschool? Unschooling is the perfect time to do that. Take your kids to the zoo, take them to the museum, do something else kind of that isn't really educational until you guys kind of get used to being around each other again. My number 5 tip that I have is, when you're done going through your unschooling process, when you've kind of learned to be around each other, when you've gotten used to being, you know, a family that's together every single day, you're really going to see what kind of schedule works and does not work for you. I know a lot of people love doing all their schoolwork in the morning and they have all their free time in the afternoons. That's actually reverse for our family. I find that doing schoolwork after lunch is the best fit for our family, because I like to do doctor's appointments and my son had therapy, and normally that would take place in the morning. So in the morning when I was doing doctor's appointments or doing some therapy in-home stuff for my older son, I was able to kind of play, do some chores, and get some other things done that I needed to get done in the day prior to starting homeschool. So then once my kiddos had lunch and I put my younger kiddos down for a nap, I would take my oldest 2 and sit them down and start doing their schoolwork with them every afternoon. They'd get their schoolwork done around the time that it would take my littles, my younger 2, to take a nap, and my 3rd child normally would take around an hour-and-a-half nap, which was perfect because I could really do the core things that I needed to. With my older 2 children, I was able to do their reading and their math and some writing activities, and then he would come down and I would do some preschool stuff with him before our youngest would wake up. And then once our youngest woke up, we were pretty much done for the afternoon. We might have a thing or 2 we have to do left, but then it was afternoon play. I'm getting dinner ready. We're getting ready for after school activities if they're in like swimming or soccer or football or something like that, and we were done for the afternoon. I really like taking the time for ourselves to do as much in the morning as we can. My kids are early risers and they're full of energy. energy, and I really got to get that energy out of them before we try getting schoolwork done, or they're just way too antsy. So I take them in the mornings, and no matter what, there's some kind of outside playtime that's going down. So I really need them to get as much energy out as possible in the morning to focus on school. And again, like I said, my oldest son, he had therapy in our home for about 3 hours, like 3 to 4 days a week. So there were times in the morning where he had to get his therapy done, and I had to keep the other ones occupied, and he still had to get schoolwork done. So afternoon schooling is what seems to work best for our family. Like I said, some people do morning schooling and they're completely done by lunchtime, and they spend their whole afternoon going out and doing things. When it comes to scheduling, you also can sit down and look at what's best for your family. Are you a year-round homeschooling family, or do you want to do homeschooling just the normal September through May? For us personally, we do year-round homeschooling. There's not really a start time and an end time. We do schooling and then we take breaks, and then we do schooling and then we take breaks. That way I can pretty much do whatever I want with my kids. You know, during the summertime, I kind of do more of a gentle learning, to where we're doing an activity or two a day, but they're still getting school every single day. Well, not every day. They're still getting schools normally Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There has been some days where, like, I'll take a Monday and Tuesday off, and I'll wind up picking up the work on a Saturday or Sunday. It's just really flexible and really good for our family. And then there's some families that want to keep the, you know, the September through May schedule. That way they have their summer off. Also, there's some families that even shorten it down. Okay, we're going to do year-round schooling, but that's because we're only going to do school on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Or we're going to do school on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Or we're going to do school Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So that's one thing about homeschooling that really can just bless your family, is you're able to completely critique your schedule around your family. So if you guys are, you know, more outdoor people, you love camping and everything, and you want to utilize as much of your weekend as possible, maybe doing homeschooling on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is great, and then you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. For us, I'm actually getting ready to condense our school. Right now it's summertime, so I have like easy, gentle learning going on. But when, you know, that September time frame comes back and it's not really, you know, summer anymore and it's getting cooler, I'll be condensing our own school days down to Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'm hoping to find a co-op at where we're going to be moving to next on a Monday or a Friday. That's my goal. If it doesn't happen, obviously I'll have to switch it around, but I would really like to condense our learning down to Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. That way we can have Mondays and Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, and it's a nice long weekend. One of those days will be a co-op day, and I don't have to stress when it's either coming off the weekend or going back on the weekend. I found that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are really great for just learning for our families. So you're really able to critique your schedule down to a T. You can, you know, change it up on different days. So making a schedule that fits your needs is going to be something that you should really do. Once you've gone through that whole unschooling process, I would sit down and try to do a schedule, and the schedule may change. You might not do that schedule every single day. You might find, okay, well, I tried to do this, it didn't really work, so now I'm going to change it to something else. Giving yourself some kind of guidelines will make it a little easier than just kind of being like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going crazy. I also use that schedule so I can get my household chores done, because, you know, there's still laundry that has to get done, there's still dishes that have to get done, the dusting, you know, cleaning bed sheets and all that other stuff. Having a schedule keeps kids to know, okay, you know what, right now we're gonna play, but after lunch we got to get school done. Having a schedule just lets them know that there's some kind of stability in their life, and it also helps me from going crazy. And my last tip that I had for you, and I know I kind of talked about it in my tip that I had before, is looking in your area for a local homeschool group, a co-op group, something along that lines to kind of get your kids out there and get them into the homeschool community that's around you. Whether you do a faith-based co-op or just community co-op, getting yourself into the community is a way to keep your kids socialized, it keeps you socialized, and they'll wind up making a lot of really lifetime long friends. You might wind up, you know, becoming friends with families that you never thought you would have been friends with before if you didn't join a local co-op group. Co-ops are called cooperative learning groups, and there's different things that you might do in that group. Some of them you might be able to do like drama classes or, you know, musical classes, some things that you wouldn't really get to do during the home, or some of them have Spanish classes classes that they do it together, or they do like a PE class. It's just a really great way for your kids to do something with other homeschool kids to kind of get them out of a house. So I really suggest you going and looking for a homeschool group or a co-op group in your local area. So those are the tips that I have for you. I hope these tips were useful for you. If you have any tips yourself, please comment below and let me know what they have, because it might be a tip that I need and I haven't even thought of it yet. I appreciate you spending your time with me, and I'll see you on the next video.